Announcement, if we could all switch off the mobile phone or put them in silent mode before starts the session. So I'll maybe, we'll get started with the session. So very good morning to all of you and a very warm welcome to all of you for today's session. So Prasanna, of course, doesn't need any introduction to any of us. And we're so proud, we're so happy that he's our alumnus from the batch of 1992. And we were just talking just before this about his journey from hardcore engineering to the world of music and how he made some really bold decisions on the way. And how proud all of us are to receive him today in our campus as a musician and more than as an engineer, right? I don't want to take any more of the time. Without much ado, let me welcome Prasanna. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm really delighted to be here today. I'm here to receive the Distinguished Alumnus Award on Saturday at the awards function. Thank you. And what a great honor for me that is. And we were just planning my time here. We thought about doing a concert. You guys know about the concert this evening. I look forward to seeing you there. And this talk. So, gives me great pleasure to do this. We're going to talk about creative thinking. Creative thinking is not new for anybody in this campus. You can't even get into this campus if not for creative thinking. But what happens when we spend so much time on logic? When we spend so much time on thinking what's right or deducing what's right, many times the straightest path that's available to us is the one that we could clearly understand and assimilate. So we could break it down, we could break down the process, and we could say, okay, I start here, I will end up here, and I will go here. But there is something else called lateral thinking, where you don't approach this on a linear path, and you start getting ideas, thoughts, and structural concepts that come from different directions. And in the beginning, it may be difficult to piece them together. Most of us tend to want to have all the solutions in front of us when we start with a problem, because we are sometimes afraid to figure things out along the way. So coming from a system where you solve hundreds and thousands of problems to get into JEE, where you need to have absolutely correct answers, you can't have this or that, this or that. From that background to thinking about lots of things which may have multiple solutions, or which may have solutions that don't appear so obvious, requires us to think in a different way. And for me, that has been, to some extent, the basis for what I've been doing. Like Steve Jobs once said, you can't connect the dots forward, you can only connect the dots backwards. So only when I go back and see the journey, one thing about me is every once in a while, I go back, as far back as I can, to see where I started, how I started. I'm not so interested in the final result of where I am today or where I will be tomorrow, but I'm interested in that path that led me to where I am. And when I see that most of the decisions that I took were instinctive, and I would even say pretty mad. Now I've come to accept that being mad is okay. And when I was a kid also, I accepted it's okay because a kid doesn't care, right? So getting into that kid state where you don't really care, you don't care about the consequences of what you're dreaming or what you're trying to do, is the best state for all of us to be in, but it's easier said than done. So every once in a while, to remind myself how I was when I was a kid, I go back and think, and there are a few things that come to my mind, which I want to now connect it to what I've been talking about, which you can also say, in relation to what's the norm, you can call this as out-of-the-box thinking. But these are all words that we apply after the fact. We don't think, nobody thinks saying, hey, I want to be out of the box. By thinking that, you're kind of, losing the whole point. Nobody decides saying, I want to be creative. You are creative. Each one of us are creative. Each one of us is creative. And by having all these stoic thoughts about what you want to be, what you want to do, sometimes takes away the whole fun. So let me point out a few things that, to me, has set the stage for where I am today. And some of these are very interesting for me, and I hope it's interesting for you too. As you all know, music is my life. That's what I do every day, and in between every other day also. And my main instrument is the guitar. So how did I end up playing the guitar? When I was about 5 years old, we were growing up in a small town called Ranipet in Tamil Nadu. And my neighbor used to play guitar. And he was playing in the church, and me and my brother's right here today, we would go and sit with him and just watch him play guitar. It's not about the kind of songs that we liked. It's not about what style of music, none of that. And both of us, me and my brother Balaji, we were kind of pretty sure we wanted to play the guitar. None of us knew why, right? We didn't know why we wanted to play the guitar. Did we care? No. We didn't care either. So we would both come back and talk to my dad and mom. My dad and mom are here. Lovely to see my family here. And say, okay, we want to learn the guitar. My dad was always traveling, so he said, why didn't you learn first and we'll get a guitar for you? And we'll go back to Tiago, our neighbor, and he'll say, why didn't you get a guitar and then I'll teach you. This went on for some time. So nothing really happened. Out of that interaction, nothing happened. Fast forward about a year or two, my dad was going to move to Chennai. And he brought the prospectus of this school called St. John's Senior Secondary School. Okay, he brought this brochure. I leafed through the brochure, and there was a picture with a guitar teacher. It said guitar class, karate class, all this other stuff. I had no idea what the school was. I did not care. I didn't even know if it was a good school. I don't think my dad knew much either. He said, this is one school's prospectus that I have. I told him, we have to move here. And this is the school I want to study. And believe me, it's not IIT or something, okay? I didn't even know about it. This is the school I want to study. Why? Because there is a guitar class here. So I was able to connect that instinct that happened in Tiago Anna's house, that, okay, I've seen someone play the guitar. It excites me, so I want to play the guitar. And when I see the prospectus, this school has a guitar class in it, therefore we have to go here. Let's rewind back to what I was talking about, the whole logic part. Let's picture what this conversation could be between a 6-year-old boy, I was maybe 6 or 7, and my dad. Okay, let's say the conversation goes something like this. Appa, I want to go to this school because they have a guitar class there. My dad says, okay, this is hypothetical. This did not happen, okay? And then my dad says, Prasanna, I'm not sure about that. I think you should go to a school which has very, very good academics. So let me find out about 3 or 5 other schools which are very good academically. And I say, no, I still think we should go for the guitar class. And then he says, well, but this school is very far away from my workplace. So I have to commute quite a bit. I'm going for a new job. I'm going to a new city. It makes it hard. So why don't we go there, get adjusted in Chennai, and then see how it goes. You get adjusted, and then see if you're really still interested in learning the guitar. We'll find a guitar teacher for you. This would have been the logical conversation. This did not happen. We moved to Chennai. My dad and mom found a place which was about a 7-minute walk from St. John's. They put me in St. John's. All of this happened. All of this happened because there was no unnecessary discussion, and there was no, what's the right word for it? There was no devil's advocate here. You see what I mean? There was no devil. My dad or my mom was not my devil's advocate. They just went with what I said. And it was true. My dad's birthplace was in Nungambakam, but this school was in Mandavali, which is pretty far. But wait till you hear the next part. The next part is first day I go to school. All right, there was not even a building. It was a thatched roof. And you go there and you inquire, like, is there a guitar class? They said, no, there's no guitar class. And you can imagine how I felt that day. Oh my God, we did all this. Or imagine how my dad felt that day. Oh my God, we did all this and like moved all the way here, and then there's, but I'm a good boy, right? So I continued with the school. Yes, I went to the school. There was no guitar class. This was in my 3rd standard. There was no guitar class when I was in my 3rd standard, none when I was in my 4th, none when I was in 5th. Remember, it's not that I was so passionate about playing guitar. It's not that I was so passionate about any style of music. I had seen a neighbor play guitar, and because it was the first instrument I saw anyone play, I assumed that's what I wanted to play. I could turn out to be the world's worst guitar player. I could turn out to be really bad, or I could turn out to be totally disinterested. But that spark was there. There's something that told me that I wanted to play the guitar. There was no logic for it. And the circumstances did not lend itself readily to make that possible. So what do? I didn't give up. I carried that same thought in my head. Okay, if not in 3rd standard, if not in 4th standard, if not in 5th standard, someday I'm going to learn the guitar. I'm going to play the guitar. Voila, 6th standard, suddenly a guitar class happened. So there was a guitar teacher who came to teach guitar in St. John's. And so very excitedly, we went to Saptaswara musicals and bought a guitar for 234 rupees. 234 rupees, how's that? Right. I don't want to say how much this costs, but 234 rupees or 258. Appa, do you have the bill? Trillia, okay. I don't know what it is. One of those, okay? Acoustic guitar, yeah. I brought the guitar home. I went next day to class triumphantly and played something, whatever it is. That's it. Lasted for 3 weeks. After that, the guitar teacher left. He got a job in South Africa or something, and he left. So now, not only I have the baggage of wanting to learn the guitar, I actually now have the baggage of guitar itself at home, right? And, I could be seen walking around with the guitar inside my house with no clue how to play. And so where do we go from here? Luckily, my dad found a family friend whose brother plays guitar called Shanmugaraj, and he was looking to teach, and he was looking to get settled in Chennai and all that stuff. And so it started. So the timeline between when I instinctively decided in my head that I'm going to play guitar. And the time that I actually started eventually learning guitar properly was about 6 years. And when I picked the guitar up and started learning, it felt like home. I really felt connected to it. And in fact, both of us, me and my brother, were learning. And then we had this little tug of war. We had one guitar between us, and he stood no chance because I would lock myself up in the room with the guitar. And that's the story. So this was number one. It was just crazy intuition, right? With not followed by any logical thinking. I think that has been a big part of my life. And only in hindsight, I see that for what it is. When you do it, you don't think about it. Then number two, playing Carnatic music on the guitar, where I did not see anyone in front of me play this music. My sister was learning Carnatic vocal, and I was just curious, trying it out. My initial journey in the guitar started with primarily listening to the music of Ilayaraja and to some extent R.D. Burman and M.S. Vishwanathan, because I was listening to Tamil and Hindi film songs, and that's what I started playing on the guitar. And then I started getting into Western rock and pop and all that stuff. But Carnatic music and guitar are two phrases that are usually not put together in the same sentence, at least then. Now it's far more common. So that was new to me. But again, it was crazy. It was like, oh, my sister's singing all this stuff. It's not that I was really interested in Carnatic music. The interest came much, much later. I was just interested in the guitar and what I could do on the guitar. And because I did not have any deterrent, and my parents were not forcing me to play this style or that style, so I was free. So I started experimenting with Carnatic music. So how I came to play the guitar, when you talk to many artists, they would say, oh, I grew up in a family of musicians. My mom and dad were playing music all the time. That was not the case in my place. We did not grow, and I did not come up from a family of musicians. My dad and mom were not playing music all the time. Music was there at home, but it's just like in most households. It's part of many things. So typically, I have interacted with lots of artists, and I see that they have almost the same story, in every situation. Oh, my dad is a violin player, so I played violin. Oh, my dad is a musician, my mom is a singer, or this, or I was asked to learn this at the age of this and that. This is how I became a musician. I very rarely see people who say, I had nobody in the family who play music. I became a musician because I wanted to become a musician. So it was always confusing me. Am I doing something right? I was also into heavy metal. And for a 13-year-old kid who's playing, one day listening to Ilayaraja songs, one day playing Carnatic Tyagaraja Kritis, and then the other day listening to Judas Priest is extremely uncommon, let's just say. And pretty crazy. I would be blasting Iron Maiden and Led Zeppelin at home, and then learning Yendaro Maanubavalu, and this is, and Ilayanila at the same time. This is very uncommon. But I knew that what is the connection for me? The connection was the guitar. It does not matter if it's Yendaro Maanubavalu. It does not matter if it's Master of Puppets by Metallica. It does not matter if it's an Ilayaraja song. It's the guitar. That's the connecting part. Now, so I simplified everything for myself. Why? Because I had that one instinct. I should play guitar. I love playing guitar. And I'm just going to go with it. Any other way of thinking, what we call critical thinking, I'm sure many of you know that creative thinking and critical thinking cannot happen at the same time. Right? We are all told that, and it is true. When you're doing something because you're driven towards it, you can't think about the pros and cons. You just have to go with it. And a lot of us stop even before the journey begins. It's not that we give up, it's just that we have not proceeded beyond the first stage. Because the first stage is easy, which is why coming up with ideas to do anything is no big deal. It's the question of executing an idea. How many ideas can we come up with and go further and execute it, versus how many ideas do we come up with and then it just sits there. So these ideas that I should play this music, it's cool, Carnatic music looks cool, and if other people haven't done it, so be it. It's even more cool for me to do it. And then fast forward a few years later, I was playing so much music. I was playing around the country. I was playing in a lot of college festivals and all that. Cheating as a schoolboy, playing in college festivals, that's another story. The first time I played in, I don't know if you guys know that Sarang used to be called Mardi Gras years before. The first time I played in Mardi Gras was representing Vivekananda College when my brother was singing for Vivekananda College, and I was 13 years old in school. And everybody knew that I was a schoolboy, but they didn't disqualify me. So I'd been around quite a bit. But I set my mind on going to IIT. As you know, academics is a big part of our whole school system, and I was no different. I was doing well in school, and I was there with a bunch of school friends who wanted to go to IIT. And so from 9th standard onwards, this is the thing. Oh, we got to go to IIT, we got to go to IIT, we got to go to IIT. So that, to me, reminded of, I got to play guitar, I got to play guitar, I got to play guitar. It's the same thing. No logic. If anyone asked me why I wanted to go to IIT, I had no answer. But the instinct was so strong that I enrolled in, it's not like today, okay? It was probably much simpler. There was only brilliant tutorials, Agrawal, and 3-4 things. But I got myself into all of them. Brilliant tutorials, okay, every day go in the evening. Agrawal, correspondence. And then Professor Balasubramaniam for physics, Professor Das for mathematics, Professor Sriraman for chemistry. All this was going on. I had no idea if I was going to get into IIT. I had no idea why I wanted to go to IIT. I had no idea what major I wanted to do, nothing. I just wanted to go to IIT because I wanted to go to IIT, end of story. But I was also playing a lot of music. So I had to balance this and that. It was hard. For 3 years, it was really hard. I don't know how many hours I slept in a week, forget in a day. It was crazy. And I did not know why I wanted to continue playing the guitar and why I wanted to study for JEE. And I told my parents, if I don't get into IIT, I'll attempt JEE again. If I don't get into IIT again, I'll attempt again. I didn't even want to go to any other school. But fortunately, I did get through JEE, which confused me after that. Oh, this time it's real. Now I have to decide. And I made a very, very instinctive decision. I got, different majors in different places. I think I got computer science in Roorkee. I got computer science in IIT Kharagpur or something else, electronics or something. I had metallurgy in Bombay, and all this was going on during the counseling time. I told my parents, Appa and Amma, I don't want to move out of Chennai because I don't want my Carnatic music learning to get affected. So I was learning from Thiruvarur Balasubramaniam, my Carnatic guru, for a few years then. So that was the decision which made me take naval architecture in IIT Madras. What was the decision? To not move from Chennai, so my Carnatic learning from my guru does not get affected. It had nothing to do with what my engineering focus was. It had nothing to do with what I wanted to do in college. Right? So that's why I'm saying that everything looks crazy to me today. But everything was instinctive, and I have to give a lot of credit to my parents because they never questioned these. I wouldn't even call these decisions. These were like random acts of instinct. That's all I would say. But they did not question it. They said, okay, that's fine. Actually, they were happy I'm going to stay in Chennai because, my mom can treat me with sambar, all these other things, of course, compared to like hanging out in Kharagpur. And then I come into IIT. I thought I will be immersed in academics. And that didn't happen. I was immersed in music. Academics was already there, but it's the music part which was exciting in IIT. I met a lot of friends. I was playing a lot. I met Professor L.S. Ganesh. Anybody knows Professor L.S. Ganesh? Yeah. And do you know that L.S. Ganesh is an amazing rock singer? Yes. So he welcomed me with open arms and said, okay, we have to do all these songs with the IIT band. Okay, I want to sing July Morning by Uriah Heep. There's that, whatever it is. So I was like, okay, great. IIT is a cool place for music. And I actually was playing every other day, somewhere or the other, either in a jam session with my friends in the hostel zone, or some show. Like every hostel day, like somebody will invite me to come and do a show. I would play in Saras Hostel or Godavari, wherever it was. So music was a big part of my IIT life. Naval architecture, forget it. We won't talk about it for now. Naval architecture was submerged. I realized that no, I'm not made for naval arch. I might make it as an engineer, but certainly not as a naval architect. So that was out of question. Then the time came. Then you're starting to think about what you're going to do, and you're in your third year, and everybody else is, oh, I want to go to Villanova University, I want to go to Penn State, I want to go here, I want to go here, I want to go here. Where do I want to go? I want to go to Berklee College of Music. No takers for that. But some of my friends in the music world, they used to talk again a lot about Berklee. Oh, we have to go there. That's where the so-and-so went. That's where Al Di Meola went. That's where a lot of our favorite musicians went. So I was getting a lot into jazz, especially jazz and jazz rock. And I look at Berklee College of Music. Wow, this is where all these famous musicians went. I got to go there. Same thing. When I was 5 years old, I have to play guitar. No reason. There was no reason for me to want to go to Berklee except I wanted to go to Berklee, right? And everybody around me, oh, we have to go to Berklee, we have to go to Berklee. So I said, okay, I have to go to Berklee. What do I have to do to go to Berklee? Then we'll figure that out later. But what am I going to do? Luckily, I stayed the course. I managed to get a decent CGPA. I won't say it here in this room, but it was pretty decent for, by all accounts, it was pretty decent. I did graduate from IIT Madras, and pretty sure I wanted to go to Berklee. I was just thinking, I did nothing. I did not take CAT. I did not write GRE. I did not even write TOEFL. No GMAT, nothing. I just sat waiting to finish IIT and then practice guitar for a year and then go to Berklee College of Music. This was my plan. Something changed. I got a software job. I took it. And then about close to a couple years later, I was about to be given a H-1 visa to go and work in the US, and it struck me at that time, no, I should not be doing this. I can't see myself going and settling down in a software job, and no, that's not for me. I had to make the switch now. So again, no logic. One evening I came home. I told my parents I want to quit my job, and I want to go to Berklee within the next 6 months. And in the next 6 months, I was in Berklee. After that, I'm not going to say much about my journey, but I think from this, you can see one thing that has been consistent in my life. That is, I've been consistently mad, and I never thought about the consequence of my creative decisions. So I guess you could say that instead of looking at it as creative thinking, which looks fancy as if we don't have it, you can just look at it as going with intuition. And from my experience, I can tell you that intuition, when people talk about intuition, they talk about an idea, or they talk about something that just came to you and you're going to go with it. No, intuition can be honed. Intuition can be developed into a fine art. You can actually work on developing your intuition to bring it to such a point that it looks so logical when you intuit something. And that is the stage at which you no longer think about the pros and cons. And that's what kids do, that's what children do, and that's what we don't do. So when we talk about creative thinking, to me, it's basically about intuition and fine tuning that sense of intuition to such a strong degree that you don't actually have to worry about what it would mean. The same thing happened many years later when I wanted to establish a music college in India after studying in Berkeley and all that stuff. I was like, a lot of people would tell me like we would need a place like that in India. And it's been on my mind for about 10 years. Anybody that I would see, I would pitch my idea to. I wanted to start this music school in India and, I need funding or whatever it is. And everybody would be like, wow, that's a great idea, but I don't know how I can help you with that. It's been in my head for a long time. And then one fine day, I come to Chennai, and through a coincidence, I met Mr. G.R.K. Reddy, who's a chairman of Marg group of companies. It was just a chance meeting. We just met each other, and 3-4 hours down the line, a music college was born. And in my mind, a music school that I was thinking was going to be like in some basement in Royapeta and somewhere in Chennai under somebody's house, like, one kutty room in which 3 guitars are there. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking anything really big. But in this meeting, when I was asked, okay, if I give you a 4-acre campus, would you be able to build a music college? I said yes. I did not know how. I said yes. So he asked me, so what? How would you envision this school? So here is this township we're like attracting. There's going to be a software park. There's going to be an architecture college. There's going to be a lot of these things. How would you make your music school relevant in this place? In my head, I had to suddenly think that that dingy one-room basement in Royapeta is no longer the thing. Here is I have a chance to do something really big, but I need to have a clear idea, because he's not going to make it work for me unless I know what I'm doing. Instinctively, I said something like this. Well, people talk about educational institutions only from the aspect of institutions. I also had this third stream of education, which is learning privately one-on-one from a guru in Carnatic music. And my guru, after, sometime I got into IIT, was the great Carnatic violinist, Kumari A. Kanyakumari. I still study with her for more than 30 years, whenever I can. So I thought about that. Everybody's thinking about institutions, right? I was thinking Berkeley or this. But what about this third stream of learning that I had, which was equally important in my music? So I said, why don't we create a Gurukula-like system? Perhaps because it's away from the city, we'll create this ashram-like structure where everybody have to live together, which means they have to, eat together, play music together. So it'll be like an ashram kind of a place for music. And it can only happen in a 4-acre campus. It can only happen in a place that's not in Royapeta. That's where it can happen. So I started rethinking the whole idea of what a music school is in a matter of few minutes, and came up with something that just came up with whatever it is. And he said, okay, I'll take that. And the next morning, I was, oh my God, I said all these things. I have no experience. How am I going to do this? And the next day, the company's business development person comes and says, oh, we need to have this plan. We need to know what this is. We need to know what the ROI is. We need to know what square feet you need to do, all this stuff. And then we have to go through all these things to figure out how to make it happen. I was like, oh my God. I just thought music school, you say you want this, and no, it doesn't work like that. Nobody will make it possible unless you have a clear idea. But the good thing is, the big picture is done. You now know that it's going to happen, and it's just a question of making it happen. So one other aspect of creative thinking if I want to use that now, is I decided for this music college, I will not recruit a single staff who has any experience in a music college. So I got this idea that my staff, everybody should be musicians, but none of them should have ever worked in a college before. Why? Because that way they will have no college baggage. They'll come with fresh ideas. They'll come purely with passion. So everybody in our team, from the vice president to the accounts manager to everybody, was a professional musician or a sound engineer or something to do with that, and have absolutely no experience in working in a college. And that set the tone for how the school was run. You know, the school was run by musicians, everybody was good, and our vice president who was there is going to be playing drums with me, Sham Rao, this evening. So here is another example where once you have this crazy thought and once you find support for it, now none of this is possible unless you can find support, because we are in a collective society, right? There's absolutely, see, if you take music itself, yes, I can play solo. I play a lot of solo concerts, but when I do play with a band, for example, this evening, and what I'm saying does not leave this room, okay? Promise? This evening's concert, we have not even rehearsed once. But trust me, it's going to be great. It will sound like we've been rehearsing all the time. Why? I was in Virginia. My band guys are in Chennai. There's only so much you can do in Zoom. We said hello and talked about what the music is. But I bet, I will tell you that when you come for the concert, it will look like we have rehearsed for 2 weeks. I can assure you that, I can guarantee you that. And the reason for that has nothing to do with music itself. The reason for that is finding the connecting point with the people that you work with, where that intuition is fine-tuned to logic. Because I know that three other band guys, they are far more concerned about the music than probably me, because I wrote the parts and gave it to them. It's up to them to now come and do it. And trust me, they would have worked on it way, way more than I thought, and they would play great. So again, the creative thinking here is what's important? Doing the concert and finding material that will work beautifully with no rehearsal, or getting attached to the material that I want to play and being frustrated that I don't have a chance to rehearse. You see the difference? One is orienting based on the constraints that you have. And I'm going to demonstrate that with the guitar. In my opinion, the greatest freedom that you can exercise can come only when you can put a lot of constraints. A lot of us think that the more constraints we have, we'll be more hampered and, I don't know what to do. But the more constraints you put, you will find that there are amazing ways to explore creativity. So the constraint here for this evening's concert is to not prepare. Doesn't mean we're going to go there and jam and make a fool of ourselves. It doesn't mean we're going to take you for a ride. What it means is we have prepared all our lives for it. I have prepared all my life for every concert that I do. I've thought through it. I thought through it in my plane. I know exactly how I'm going to play this song. I know when I'm going to play something prepared and when I'm going to improvise. And it is a part of my life. Thinking about this is a part of my life, and it's the biggest part of my life. Planning the specifics for just this one event to play those songs might not have happened because the rehearsal did not happen. But making it a beautiful event and making it a lovely experience for the people who are there and for us has nothing to do with that. Has to do with, if this is the constraint, how can we restructure the music and the evening to make that possible, right? So constraints help in creative thinking. As illogical it may sound in first hearing, let me repeat that again. Constraints will help a lot in creative thinking. And I'm going to show that on the guitar. So far, everyone's with me, or am I way off track? All good? When you play music, right? If it's Carnatic music, how many of you here are somewhat familiar with Carnatic music? Okay, quite a bit. So let's say, when we think of Carnatic music, when we think of a song, immediately we think of what? What raga? What raga it is in, correct? Or what tala it is in. That's what it is. When we think of, let's say, an Ilayaraja song, what do you think of? Do you think of what raga it is? Orchestration, that is if you know what is orchestration. Time signature, wow, you are in a different plane. Are people thinking of all these things when they listen to Ilayaraja's songs? Sorry? What if it's not in any raga? Then do you get frustrated? Yes? Oh my God. We'll have a chat later, okay? It's like, there is no need to get frustrated. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make out is this. If I say I'm going to play a song, okay, if it's, let's say I'm going to play with a Carnatic musician here, okay? Let's call him Raj. Okay, hi Raj, hi. Okay, let's play now. Raj will say, what raga shall we play? Right there, creativity ends. Right there. The moment is gone. It's ruined. You understand what I'm saying? It's ruined. I may put it in a very drastic way. I don't think Raj should ask what raga we should play. Raj should just play. We are letting ourselves down by putting an unnecessary constraint which does not help in our creativity. Because none of you really care what raga. What if you have never heard Carnatic music? Then what is Raj saying? Hey, what raga shall we play? What if we are playing in Tromsø in Norway? What raga? How does it matter? So one is constantly thinking about your own problems. And believe me, the audience doesn't care about what problems me and Raj has. They only care about, are they going to feel good or not? So here is a negative example of creating a constraint where there is no need for a constraint. But let's take a positive example. We talked about what raga it is, okay? In Carnatic music, people say a raga should have 5 notes. Correct? And yes, in fact, in my school, we had the great Balamurali Krishna come once for the workshop, and he taught all of us a song that he composed with 3 notes. Ilayaraja has composed songs with 3 notes. It was okay, you don't even need 5 notes. But tell the Carnatic person that, you can do it in 3 notes. No, 3 notes doesn't make a raga. And then let's say, but a song does not need to be in a raga. No, every song has to be in a raga. So what happens is that we keep on putting these artificial constraints based on what somebody else has told us. But if we leave the record straight, let's say, for example, I have to find a situation where I can play only 1 note on my guitar, only 1 note, and make music. Is that possible? It's possible? Yes? Is it common? So it's just because it's not common doesn't mean it's not possible? Shall we make that correlation? Just because it's not common does not mean it's not possible. Creative people do not think about what's common and what's not common. They think about what's possible. Let me repeat that. Creative people don't worry about what's common and what's not common. They think about what's possible. Or to rephrase it in another way, if somebody tells me you should make music playing just 1 note, I would be like, wow, what a lovely opportunity this is for me to try something creative that I otherwise would not do. Believe me, there's not a single song you're going to hear this evening in concert where I'm going to play only 1 note. So don't worry, you're fine. This evening you'll be taken care of, okay? I'll play 1,000,000 notes. But for now, let's say I have to play only 1 note. Let's see what happens. At the end of it, you can give me a grade, okay? I'm not going to bias you to what grade. One note, okay? I'll take the note E. Okay, there's any guitar players here? Anybody plays guitar? Okay, cool. E. Okay, only one note. Okay, let's see what happens. All right, what's the grade? No? C minus? Okay, I won't bother you for the grades. Okay, was that a piece of music? Yes. So, what did I do? What did I do? In your own way, I'm going to ask you to describe it. Sorry? Yes, I know, but tell me a little bit more. Played with the octaves. Okay, rhythms. So I forgot the constraint of one note only. Okay, that's a constraint only for notes, but nobody said one rhythm only. Nobody said one octave only. I could play the E here. I could play the E here. I could play it here. I could slide from E to E. I can play E with a talk sound. I could play E with this sound. I could play E with that sound. I could play E with this sound. So I'm playing with other parameters that have nothing to do with notes. You see what I mean? Because music is not notes. So that argument, what raga shall we play, is gone. Would Raj have been able to play one note? No. Raj is good enough to play one note, but he does not know that you can do it. Because all he has heard throughout his life is music has to be in a raga. There is no way Raj can appreciate Metallica. There's no way that everything becomes a problem because you have put a negative constraint on yourself and assume that the whole world has to see it that way. Right? Instead, if you put a positive constraint, like how can I explore creativity with one note? The goal is to explore who you are as a creative person. That one note is just a data point, to use the right word. It's not the all-consuming. It does not define who you are. The fact that you're playing one note does not define who you are, any more than the fact that you are going to sing in this raga does not define who you are. Right? Who you are is defined by what you do, how you do it, and how you express yourself. As artists, my primary goal is to express myself through this abstract medium called music. and then communicate it to you and somehow find a connective point by which you can respond to that abstract medium in a tangible way for yourselves. So at that point, that abstract medium called music is now broken into something logical between us as an unsaid communication. So these are things that come as a byproduct of me thinking like an artist, where creativity is necessary for me to sustain myself. Otherwise, I'll be okay, but I'll be doing the same thing as many other people. So now, if you imagine what can be done with one note, imagine now if somebody gives me one more note. Wow, the possibilities expand tremendously, exponentially, right? So now 2 notes become like, wow, I have deserved 2 notes now. I can do a million things with 2 notes. 10 minutes back, we thought we can't do anything unless we have 5 notes. We can't do anything unless it's a raga, right? Now, that is assuming that you're coming from the other direction, where you assuming that notes are what create music. So many times we make these wrong hypotheses in our heads. Oh, music is about ragas. Music is about notes. Music is about this. Music is about sound. It's called Nada Yoga. It's done, simple, over, matter ends. It doesn't matter if you play a raga or if you don't play a raga. It doesn't matter if you play Metallica or Muthuswami Dikshitar. It doesn't matter. And frankly, nobody cares. The rest is just unnecessary clutter in our heads. And people who are not creative create complications with this clutter. Ooh, Prasanna played that song. He murdered it. From playing nice Danyasi, he went to play something which is all wrong. That dude has decided that what I played is wrong. That's all. I have a song called Bowling for Peace. I don't know if any one of you have heard it. So every time I play it in a concert, people come and ask me, what raga is it? I instantly tell them it's not in any raga, and I can see the disappointment in their faces. Because while the song is going on, they're thinking, Shankarabharanama irkumo illiye indha nee konjam vera madiri irukke bilahariyo. Oh no. Oh my god. Sometimes it sounds like Shankarabharanam, sometimes it's like, oh yo, nadule it's like Behag. Enna raga idu? Half the time is spent in them thinking about what raga it is. Whereas the other person who doesn't care is blissfully enjoying the song without thinking about what raga it is. You see what I mean? You don't have to worry, that's my problem. What raga it is my problem. You just enjoy the song and go. Thank you very much. But what I say is actually shocking to some people. It's not in any raga. The melody goes like this. It's not in any raga. It is somewhat like Shankarabharanam. But trust me, your experience of enjoying this music is not at all going to diminish by you not knowing what raga it is. By knowing what raga it is, you're not going to achieve anything. If it was in a particular raga, and you guessed it correct, and I say this, then it's like, yes, I got it. Okay, at least the game has some value there. But in this case, it's not in any raga. And I'm not a cheater. I'm not a heretic. You see what I mean? I did not intend to be in it. So there's the same thing. There are many A.R. Rahman songs and Ilayaraja songs that reviewers desperately try to find what raga it is. Oh, Rahman mixed. Oh, there's a little bit of Mishra, this thing with Mishra, that thing. And Rahman will be laughing. He'll be like, dude, okay, you have your own fun. I'm not even thinking anything. So you have to be open to many, many different approaches to be creative, right? So that's the first thing. You have to take away these unnecessary clutter out of your head. Most of these clutters are caused by somebody else saying something to us. And then that becomes the norm, right? That, and for someone like me, that's never been appealing. It's like if somebody says, "This is the way you do it," I will vehemently oppose it and do it some other way. In art, in other things, I'm normal. You know, I won't do crimes and all that. If somebody says, "Don't commit a crime," I won't commit a crime. But if somebody says, "Don't play this chord," I will play this chord. Why? Because in my world, I've realized one thing. If I play a wrong note or a wrong chord or a wrong raga, none of you are going to get hurt. Nobody's going to have knee pain because I played the wrong note in a raga, correct? Anybody is going to have knee pain? No? Nobody is going for a shoulder surgery if I played a note which should not be in Bhairavi raga, correct? Then what's the big deal? I can choose to be in Bhairavi raga. I can choose to be sort of in Bhairavi raga. I can choose to be almost in Bhairavi raga. I can choose to levitate in Bhairavi. It's my problem. As long as the music comes out in a way that it communicates to you, you're fine. So that is the way that you see everything. And from an artist's perspective, seeing it seems natural. But believe me, it's not. I have to work hard on myself, just like any of you, to find creative paths, to find creative solutions. Because I'm surrounded by the Raj. I mean, sorry, if there is a Raj here, I mean, Raj is just, it could be John, it could be Jacob, anybody, whatever it is. We can call him Jacob from now on. Anyway, sorry? Yeah. I'm going to finish with just this one. Exactly. So, Raj or Jacob's clutter is not his own. It's been imposed. The sooner you can get the imposed clutter out of your head, at least form your own clutter, that's cool. You have your own rules, you follow your own rules. And this, I think, is the basis for any creative thought. And I have experienced all this through music. That's why today, until yesterday, I was just thinking of just talking. But today, last night, I thought, oh, no, sometimes let the guitar talk. So much is explained better. But I think that one note analogy probably gave you something to think about that me just speaking about it would not have. Right? So that's what I wanted to say pretty much, and I'll be happy to take some questions. So to summarize, creative thinking comes out of honing your intuition to a point where it seems that logical that you can defend it if you have to. But if you don't have to defend it, that's the best situation. Do not defend your creativity. Right? You don't have to. That means the person that's making you defend it is putting you in an unnecessary spot. Get rid of that discussion completely. So fly with what you have, and then the next thing is find people who will connect to that idea that you have, even if they don't process the idea very well. And that's how you build a team. That's how you build support for your idea. That's how you build a band. In real life, you build a team if you're going to be an entrepreneur for your work, or like if you're going to be part of an organization. That's how you do. You build based on how you can generate support for your ideas, for which you have to be clear about your ideas without any clutter. So that's my take on what is creative thinking. Does this make sense? Okay, thank you. I'm happy to. You want the microphone?
About ragas being some constraint, right? But what if we just look at them as some pure nomenclature of a set of notes which has in the past produced a pleasing sound? Say, for example, when I listen to Riti Kaula or Madhyamavati or Suruti or any of that, right? I get accelerated. And it is just an attempt to reproduce the same set of notes at some point in time. So you need a nomenclature, and these are the notes. Then you kind of further explore in depth on that, like, right? So if you just look at it as a man's quest for reproducing a set of sounds which has in the past created, happiness for people.
Oh yeah, that is the most positive way of explaining what a raga is. So that is great. That's so you're talking about raga being a template or a structure which is come into certain pleasing effect. Yes, of course. So is like the structure for how a symphony should be written. So is the structure for how a Coltrane would do a jazz arrangement. Yes, but the point I was trying to make is that
It's put as a constraint.
if it is put as a negative constraint, yes. But you said when you hear Riti Gaudale, you get accelerated.
Correct.
Do you get accelerated when someone plays Riti Gaudale badly?
Well, yeah, that's a difficult question, right? Like in the sense.
So is it Riti Gaudale that you're getting accelerated by, or an artist's presentation of Riti Gaudale? You got to think about that too. You see what I mean? So many times we think the raga is great. The raga is only a template. And I bet there are a lot of people who sing and play Riti Gaudale badly, sorry to say.
True. Yeah.
Okay, it's a hard raga, okay? So that's the justification,
Sure.
right? So let me give you an example. What I'm saying is, give only 50% of the credit to the raga. The other 50% goes to who's playing it and how they are playing it. They are the ones who are using the template. That's like saying Microsoft Word is great. What does that mean? Microsoft Word is, yes, of course. If you see all the possibilities, it's great, right? So that's interesting. Now, you are coming also from a situation where you yourself can make out which person's rendition of Riti Gaudale you can listen to, right? So in 2 seconds, you'll probably know this is not happening. So from your point of view, it's not a problem of Riti Gaudale, it's a problem of the artist. From my point of view, it is that, plus the other the other side of it, which is it's up to the artist to give you the Riti Gaudale imagery that you want, that you think accelerates you, right? So it's both ways. Anybody else has questions? Yeah.
Thank you for the wonderful explanation. So just a clarification in terms of thinking about ragas. Let's say today in the day of AI and a lot of the stuff which is coming, right? So most of the things are like very similar. You have 2-3 chord progressions where you do it in a very different way, but the feel is not much of a difference. But when you say you can apply ragas, like for example, let's say I take 2 unconnected ragas like Hindolam and Hamsanadam, completely different. So I want to put it into a piece. So how do I like present it with the technology and stuff? Because maybe I'm not that great in playing the instrument, but I know what note should come, what note should not come, and that ear is there. You get my question? So when let's say I want a piece for 4 minutes to be composed based on these, but it can move around a little bit, but primarily around these 2. So how do I put in a piece like that? And do you really think it is possible in this current day and age to compose something just completely unconnected but yet listenable?
I want to understand your question a little bit more, so because you brought AI into it. So can you just rephrase your question so
Sure.
I can understand it? So I got the idea about these 2 ragas. Today in the concert, you're going to hear a song which I composed when I was in my second year in IIT. It's called Blues for Saraswati. It's a reggae, which was kind of like a Bob Marley reggae in Hamsadvani and Hamsanadam. Okay, so check that out this evening. But I want to get your question a little bit clearer for me to answer.
Sure. So you might have heard of softwares like maybe Suno AI, Kids AI, etc., where you just enter a few things like parameters that you want blues style, jazz style, etc., and you enter the lyrics. The system generates its own music, and it's good. If you know how to write your lyric stuff, it comes up with its own music. But the soul element is missing. So in that case, I might probably take some ideas from that, but I want to use my thinking into that kind of a music, probably because maybe I'm able to get the tune, but I'm not able to get the rhythm of it. Maybe the lyric is written in a certain way where I'm not able to put it in a particular rhythm. So maybe I can take use of that tool, but I'm not going to take that particular tune. So I am trying to understand how do I concoct this plus your knowledge of creativity and how to use it in current day music production.
That's a very interesting question. A few months back, Dean Mahesh had come to Virginia. He came to my home, and we had a chat on AI and music. And I don't know, he said he was going. Is there on YouTube? Okay, go check it out. And then he actually connected me with Srini, who works in OpenAI, and he's one of the key people in ChatGPT. So Srini and I had a chat about AI and music, and he told me about some of these softwares and some of the implications of generative AI on stuff. So I'll very quickly tell you. The answer is a resounding yes. I think AI will help you in making it work better, especially when you don't know the results. That's what I think. So, for example, let's say you take what you said. You said two ragas. What did you say? Like Indolam and Hamsanadam. Okay. So you go to your AI thing, whatever that is, and say, okay, input Hindolam in E. I'm Mr. AI, so I've got it. Okay, what's your name? Prashant. Okay, Prashant tells me, Hindolam in E, Hindolam in E. And then you tell AI, hey, dude, that's not enough for it to be Hindolam. That sounds like Suddha Danyasi in A. Oh, I have to put the gamakas of Hindolam. So, oops. It wasn't in E, it was in D. Now it sounds like Hindolam. So then you tell, Mahesh is here. Question about AI and music. AI and Carnatic music. Okay. So then you say, okay, these are the gamakas, whatever it is. So you have now got the framework. Now, you're not composing the song, right? But you know what is Indolam. Otherwise, you don't have the right template. So you know Indolam. You don't want to compose the song. You want AI to compose the song with parameters that you input. Okay, so tell AI that that's a phrase in Hindolam. That is not Suddha Danyasi. Even though some Suddha Danyasi will have the same notes, we now know it's not Suddha Danyasi. And what's the other one? Hamsanadam. Okay, now, the typical Carnatic musician would be thinking Hamsanadam also in the same D. No, you don't have to. You have so many other choices. So tell AI to do Hamsanadam in F sharp. Okay, and then input some gamakas in Hamsanadam. Okay, some version of that. And then what's the fun? And then you tweak the results. So the idea of using a tool like AI should be for you to produce something that you would have been never able to come up with yourself completely. That is, you would have been able to come up with some of it, most of it, but you do not want to finish it from your own perspective. You want a different end result out of the means that you choose to pursue. That's the way I see these tools of technology. So if you don't know the means, then you don't get the end result that you want. If you know the end result, then why you use AI at all? So don't use it when you know the end result. Control the means. So you be the master in controlling the input and leave the output as a surprise. I used generative AI to design a flyer a few days ago in a rush, okay, about my India tour. And a lot of people were saying, oh, don't tell anyone I used AI, okay? Everybody was like, oh, who designed the flyer? Who designed the flyer? I kept quiet. So this is the flyer that I came up with. So this is generative AI. So I input a certain set of parameters for it to give this. There is no way in planet Earth I could have done anything of this sort. No way. Secondly, I didn't have the time. I had to do something, but I'm not corny enough to put something that's just so passé. So that's all. 5 minutes. I had to tweak the set of instructions I had to give. Yeah. See, you don't let the tools overtake your instinct. That's not what the tools are meant to be for. See, in the musician world, there is this argument, oh my God, AI has come, now everything, I'm gone. It's like in the 80s when Depeche Mode and Pet Shop Boys and all these guys started doing all programmed music. Oh my God, there is no work for a drummer anymore. There is no work for a... No, that's not the point. If you're really confident about what you have, you'll start using the tools and say, hey, I'll be the master of the tools. But the problem is not the tools. The problem is your lack of creativity, not you. I'm just saying in general, right? So you can do what, and I'm sure you'll come up with great ideas. Any other questions?
So we talked
If
about...
we can avoid very technical music questions.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. It's a very introspective kind of question.
Mhm.
So how do we know what a good or a bad constraint, or how do we get better at identifying a good constraint and a bad constraint? Does it come with experience? Is it completely instinctive, or how does it work for you at least?
Okay, first of all, this good constraint, bad constraint stuff is I made up today. I don't know if there is anything called negative constraint and positive constraint, but from now on, I'll start using it again and again so that it's... So I talked about a positive constraint and a negative constraint, right? How do you know it? It's very simple. If it helps you in moving forward, it's a positive constraint. If it doesn't help you in moving forward, it's a negative constraint. So for example, that thing when I showed like one note, that whole thing, I know it's going to help me move forward. So it's a positive constraint. To somebody else who don't know how to move forward with it, it's a negative constraint. So then you have to rewire your mindset. But in this case, unlike what I told him, you need to know the end result. So if, let's say, give me a constraint, for example. I mean, not to do with guitar, in general. And give me a problem which involves a certain constraint. Not serious math and all, okay?
Let's say, typically, we are expected to go to college, finish college, get a job, and then do whatever we want. So that's a constraint we're imposing on ourselves, but in our society...
Say that again.
We're expected to go to college, finish college, get a job, and then do what we want.
Let's stop there.
Okay.
Were you expected to go to IIT?
Yes.
Okay. And then the next part of the question?
I couldn't get in.
Oh, you're not from IIT?
I'm not from IIT.
Okay, cool. All right, so, okay, go ahead. Forget that.
So, at least for me, personally, I'm expected to get a job, then on a sideline, do music as a hobby. And that's not what I want to do. So, I feel like that's a constraint on me.
Yeah, but that's a negative constraint.
Yeah.
Straight away. Right? It's a negative constraint because that you did not decide that constraint. A positive constraint is something decided by you. Like that one note thing that I said was decided by me. Right? Knowing fully well that I can make music with that. So you use the word you're expected. Right there, the way you framed the sentence already showed that you're talking about somebody else's expectation of what you want to do. That's a negative constraint if you do not want that path that you said. Right? I also had that constraints. Luckily, it was not from my parents or from my family. Of course, I had to answer a lot of questions. You know, my branch mates, my batch mates, my hostel mates, they were all concerned, saying like, are you sure you're doing the right thing? I mean, playing music along with something is one thing, but to want to go to music school after IIT and to not apply for any engineering or anything like that, are you sure you're doing the right thing? Many of them are my closest friends now, and they're like, pretty chilled about what I'm doing. But they were very concerned. So when it is coming from other people, I mean, if it's coming from your family, you have to address the issue, right? They are concerned about your well-being. You have to address that issue, and you have to figure this out. Imagine the amount of constraints A.R. Rahman would have faced when he went from Tamil to Hindi films. Right? If we all think like all this is done by magic, like people like A.R. Rahman and all, just magic music and then it happens. We all think that's it. We don't think much about the kind of decisions that people like him have to make. Right? The decision about going to Hindi films. When you know Hindi film music has this sound, in Tamil film music it's different. Ilayaraja's like done like Hindi film music is sorry to say that, far more passé, you know. So Rahman has to look at it as a positive constraint. He said, these guys are doing music like the same way they did in 1975 and 2005 also, unlike 1995 also. I have a chance. I have a chance to rewrite the script. Right? It's how Rahman used that positive constraint. Here's another example talking about Rahman. I worked with Rahman on the score for 100-Foot Journey, a Hollywood film, where the score is pretty much orchestral. Right? He had to work with a live orchestra, and except for instruments like my guitar, and there was lots of Indian music in it. It's it's an Indian-centric film about an Indian restaurant owner and all that stuff. My wife Shalini sang the title track of it, which is the movie starts with that, a little bit of her vocals, which is very Indian there. But for the rest of the movie, he had to work with an orchestra. And irrespective of how much experience he had working with a classical orchestra in other Tamil and other Hindi films, he has to serve this function well. And he did an amazing job. How he did it? He turned that positive constraint, turned that into a positive constraint. Oh, okay. But I know I'm A.R. Rahman. I'm fine. Right? So that's a good example. So start observing all these things a little bit more deeper. Right? I think A.R. Rahman is a great case study. If you start looking at the kind of decisions that he has taken to where he has come, instead of just saying, yeah, his music is cool, that's why he's so... Yes, his music has always been cool, but how has he been able to bring it to you and stamp it? Right? So the world is full of people who have turned constraints into amazing results. Right? Before A.R. Rahman came into, the sound of Roja, everybody thought that Tamil film song should have this particular sound. Roja was sort of there. It was not that far away from what was already there. But by the time it came to Dil Se and all that, it has completely changed. A song like Chaya Chaya has the same lines going again and again and again. And yet people listen to it. Instead of being bored by it, they get entranced. So there are lots of little subliminal psychological things that he does that he knows will work with the listener. These are very carefully thought out decisions, not just a random incident. On top of it, it's spontaneous enough. Otherwise, it would have sounded too clinical, right? So, take, what other bands that you like? Give me an example. What kind of music?
Polyphia?
Polyphia, okay. So why are people talking about Polyphia now?
Math rock, they make very complex and very fast-paced riffs.
Okay, but that has been done by Yes, that has been done by Rush, that has been done by Dream Theater. Where does Polyphia stand? They do something in a particular frame that is slightly different from what everybody does. Many of my students are totally into Polyphia, so I know Polyphia very well. Right? It's the way the guitar player plays. Right? It's the way the band plays along with those lines. Right? So those are the constraints. Polyphia is not doing anything with Carnatic music. Am I correct? It's not part of their life. So they have imposed that constraint and say like, oh, well, I'm not going to go beyond this. So within this, what can I find? Right? So that is the positive constraint. You see what I mean? Any other questions? Yeah.
Before that, I just wanted to share once that I used to be a lawyer, and 1 year ago I quit to give in all to music, so your talk was really, really inspiring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And have you heard of this artist Matthias Sato? So he's also from Musicians Institute. Currently, like
What's his
he's a-
name?
Matthias Sato.
Yes,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course.
So I've seen a lot of Carnatic like playing technique in his playing. Just I'm sure he does not know the ragas, but so how is it important? Is it for me to expose myself if I've never like gone down that lane of learning Carnatic music? So
But where are you coming from, Matthias to Carnatic music?
no. So I have observed
You're
the
a Carnatic
technique.
musician
Yeah.
playing guitar standing right here.
No. I just wanted to ask, like, so whenever I've tried his songs, I've observed the similar kind of style. And I've been able to capture that, but not in the way that is seen in your songs. So, how important is it for me, or at what, like, how should I start exposing myself to Carnatic music at this stage, or is it necessary to learn the theory in depth for me to be able to adapt that style in my playing?
What instrument do you play?
Guitar.
Guitar, okay. So you are into what kind of what drove you to play guitar, and like what is your primary style of guitar
It's
playing?
currently blues.
It's currently blues.
Yes.
Okay. Representative of like some artists, tell me.
So Hendrix for sure, then it's John Mayer, then SRV is like, these are the
Okay.
styles that I like.
Okay.
And of course Matthias Sato from the new generation, because he also has a lot of blues in his playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So where are you? Is it something that you want to do to bring Carnatic music into your thing, or you think?
I feel it really resonates with me when I hear, because of my roots. I feel very connected, but I feel very restricted because I do not have the knowledge of the theory. So, like, where should I get started with learning? Is it necessary for me to learn all the ragas to adapt that
No.
style into my playing?
No.
Is my question.
No. See, there are two things. One is if you want to play Carnatic kacheris, yes, then you have to go through that path. But if you want to bring influences of Carnatic music in your playing, you don't have to do that. I have so many people who have, I'm sure Matthias has listened to my playing. I have so many people who have heard my playing and found out, like, okay, the other day, Jordan Rudess, the keyboardist of Dream Theater, when we were having a chat, he was saying, like, he was talking about a guitar player, I don't remember from which band, he said, some famous metal band. He said, like, did he study with you? I said, no. He said, he sounds like many things that you do. Did he study with you? I said, no. In today's world, everybody can find somebody or the other doing different things, right? So you can just listen. You can listen from my records, or from anything, or listen to you, Srinivas, or anybody that gives you some handle on what you can do. And the connection between blues and Carnatic is pretty far more close. For example, I'll show you something like this. If you play this line, you can pass it off as blues. If you play, this is Carnatic. What's the difference? It's a small guitar difference, right? Let me do that again. Blues. Carnatic. That's it. But to come to this level of simple crystallization, I had to cross a lot of clutter. How is that Carnatic? How is this blues and Carnatic can come together? How is this? Constantly people bugging the heck out of you. So you have to declutter yourself. Actually, it is true. Anybody will believe in. That is blues. That is Carnatic music. It's exactly the same thing. What raga is it? Who cares? Right? So sometimes it's just a small shading of the color. Many, many years ago, the great Carnatic Veena Vidwan, Dr. S. Balachandar, did a session, a workshop in IIT, in CLT, and I was there, and I was amazed at what he said. He said, if you sing a particular gamaka this way, it sounds Carnatic. If you don't sing it this way, it doesn't sound Carnatic. But the gamaka is common to many things. Otherwise, Stevie Wonder would be the best Carnatic singer. This is his statement. I was like stunned, like, wow, he was even talking about Stevie Wonder. So that's what it is. So sometimes it's as simple as that. So you get from Carnatic music what you want to make your music come alive. You don't worry about what is expected of a Carnatic musician. You see what I mean? So sometimes making just that small thing. I don't know what else to say except saying start with listening. And if you find something that's interesting, like in today's concert, I did a song called Kalyani Connection in one of my albums. We're going to play that today. Just when you think it's very traditional Carnatic Kalyani, it suddenly moves into a complete jazz rock environment. And then by the time it comes back completely. Nobody has complained about it to me, saying, why are you spoiling Kalyani Raga? In fact, it's the reverse. People are energized. So Carnatic music can be a valuable resource, but it is also a very, very complex art form. It requires certain training and all that stuff, and people who have been doing it forever, take it like, it's... But when you come from the other side, it can be a little intimidating. So I would just say, you can definitely find enough material out there to just try it. And if you really like it, it'll just come into your playing. Good?
Hello. So my question is not technical at all. It comes from a very
Thank you.
social context. So for me personally, I think Carnatic and guitar is a very unusual pairing, right? Not very acceptable, and for us, like for my peers as well, we see a lot of bands that are very much into classical fusion and Carnatic fusion that have been gaining a lot of attention. So I think my question to you would be, how did you navigate, how did you situate a guitar in the world of Carnatic, and how did the both come together for you?
You were there earlier when I talked about my story from the time I was a kid
No,
playing
I
the
had
guitar.
a class, so I came
Okay.
late.
All right. How did they come together? For me, picture this situation. At home, I was 12 years old. I would be listening to Ilayaraja songs, and then I would be listening to the Bee Gees, and then I would be listening to Deep Purple. And in between all of that stuff, my wife will be singing Mahaganapatim. What is this? So I was trying to play Deep Purple. I was trying to play those Ilayaraja songs. I was trying to play those Bee Gees songs. Why can't I play this? That's all. Nobody told me you should not play Carnatic music on the guitar in my house. I didn't care about the rest of the world. Nobody in my house told me you should not play Carnatic. In fact, they said the reverse. My mom would say, please play Carnatic. My mom was the reason why I actually got formal training from my guru. She kept on telling him, you should teach Prasanna. Even though my guru thought that it is not possible to play on the guitar. So people do come with these, inhibitions. But eventually, I think I did not talk about hard work, dedication, and all those things. A lot of people talk about these qualities. I don't think they are qualities. I think they are necessities. So there's no point in saying, I worked hard, right? All this stuff that we hear, no? I wake up at 4 in the morning and do sadhana for 8 hours. Oh my God, it's depressing many times to listen to that. What if you can't do that? How can you get inspired by that? You see what I mean? I'm not saying it's wrong, but this is standard thing about all artists talking all the time about you have to practice 10 hours a day, no matter what. Dude, nobody has 10 hours a day to practice. Come on, what world are we in? And then what happens? People like me get like, oh, I can't practice 10 hours, so I'll never be good. All of these things, it's even for you, I would say, all this stuff is far easier than what people make it out to be. Artists in my in my position, have to glamorize the notion that you have to practice 10 hours a day, otherwise you won't take me seriously. Right? If I tell you I practice 1 hour a day, you won't take me seriously. You'll think, hey, what is this? Maybe this guy is not good. So this is one tamasha that's been happening. You have to practice 10 hours a day. Okay? Steve Vai practiced 10 hours a day, so you have to play guitar 10 hours a day. Okay, so-and-so Carnatic Vidwan practice for 8 hours a day, so you have to practice. What if you don't have 8 hours? What you have to take care of like a million other things? Doesn't mean you can't be good? No. So the idea of listening to other people, putting your idea down is a waste of time. You will find your own solution. And this is what happened to me. Because it happened to me when I was a kid, I didn't have to think much about it. So I just picked up the guitar, I practiced. Yes, I did practice several hours a day, but it's not something that I have to talk about because everybody has to work hard. Right? So I don't know if that answers your question. You just have to do it. It's as simple as that. The fact that this and that are uncommon and all those things are for normal people to like worry about. We have to be in a different zone. If you want to be a really creative artist and if you want to do something that's not common, you just have to go through that.
Because this is something that I observe, that all the bands that are into fusion have been here for a good amount of time, but have been gaining a lot of attention quite recently. Like the most unconventional, in a very unconventional and a conventional manner. So this idea intrigued me in the sense that when you started, it has been a while. How accepting were people of the fact that you were playing Carnatic on a guitar?
Oh, that's a... Frankly, it wasn't that much of a problem getting acceptance. First of all, I did not wish for acceptance. Okay, I didn't have to have somebody accept what I do. I do what I do, period. But I don't wear that in my sleeve. You know, I'm respectful about people criticizing me. But people criticizing me without having any grounding, it doesn't bother me. People would say, for example, reviews would say, for an instrument like Guitar, Prasanna plays very well. For such a limited instrument as guitar, he's playing Carnatic ragas very well. How did this guy know whether it's a limited instrument or not? I bet he has never heard the guitar. That reviewer has never heard like Eddie Van Halen, has not heard Joe Pass, has not heard George Benson, doesn't know a thing about the guitar. How come he writes the guitar is a limited instrument? You see what I mean? So stuff like that bothered me a little bit, and then I realized, no, it's coming out of somebody just saying it without exactly thinking about it. He probably meant it in a good way. This happened all the time. And then like people would say, on the guitar it is easy to play Raghuvansa Sudha, but very hard to play Todi. The guy has never played the guitar. He has never heard me play both. Right? So those kind of things would not bother me. The real acceptance which I got, which I was very fortunate, was from the masters of Carnatic music. I went to see Semmangudi Srinivasa here once. And I played, he said, Romba nanna vaasikrappa. Ennoda Aasirvadam. I played once in a private place with my only audience is MS Subbulakshmi. For 25 minutes, we had a beautiful chat. She was so excited about how I played. Lalgudi Jayaraman was very appreciative of my music. He would call me home and said, Romba nanna vaasikrappa, do this. So I didn't have to worry. I had like the greatest of the masters giving me not just acceptance, but enthusiasm. So in that sense, I was very fortunate. But also because U. Srinivas was such a household name, by the time I started coming into the concert circuit, I think people's level of acceptance was also much higher. So I have to thank Srinivas for that. Any other questions? Anybody else? Nope.
Hi, sir. So, talking about creative thinking, after you explained about your life till IIT and then you went to Berkeley, so you have had a knowledge, like you already had exposure to music from the West and also Carnatic music. So going into Berkeley and the days after, say until the album Be the Change, which is like one of my favorite albums, and according to me, it's one of the best
We
albums in
have
the world.
CD here. We have the 20th anniversary edition here.
I would
Sayu
love to
has
buy that today.
Yes, please.
And
we'll play a lot of music from Be the Change this evening too.
For sure, sir, I'll be there. Coming to that album, so talking only about creative thinking. So what did the days in Berkeley do to you as a creative? And while you're writing, when you compose those songs, can you tell us, like, say you had come up with those melody, come up with those ideas when you were in IIT, to executing it to that level after Berkeley. So what did that actually do to you creatively, and how did being there influence you as a musician and also probably as a person?
That's a great question. Let me have a little bit of water. When I went to Berkeley, first I was, from here, I'm going to Berkeley, it's cool and all that was there. But I went there and I got the shock of my life. There were 1,100 guitar players in the school. 1,100 guitar players. There were 3 violin players. There were 17 trombone players. There were 1,100 guitar players. Picture that. This dude just finished IIT, quit a software job, goes there, okay? And like everybody, you're cool, everything cool. Yeah. Goes there with the blessings of the entire community in India and finds himself in front of 1,100 guitar players from some 45 countries, all wanting to make it on the guitar. Do you guys know that 1 in 6 people in the planet play guitar? If it's not true, it's not true. Don't worry. It could be 1 in 8, it could be 1 in 9. Forget the exact number. But 1 in at least less than 10. That's a lot of guitar players in the world. Everybody's cousin and everybody's cousin's cousin and everybody's grandfather's relative will be playing guitar. Somebody or the other, somewhere in some household next to you, 5 streets down, 2 streets down, somebody will be playing the guitar. It's a truth. It's not the case with trombone. It's not the case with Chennai. You see what I mean? It's not the case. I can prove it to you. I don't have to prove it to you. You will just accept what I'm saying. So that was the problem. What am I going to do as one among 1,100 guitar players in a school? And if I look at the school as a microcosm of the whole world, then it was like quite depressing. Wow, first of all, I have to make it in the school and excel. And then when you go out of the school, we're talking about 100 million guitar players in the world. Everybody and everybody's cousin plays guitar, not trombone. So that immediately got me thinking, what is it that is new to me that the other 100 or 1099 guitar players do not have? Carnatic music. Simple. But if I play only Carnatic music, I'll be a complete misfit in Berkeley. Right? Then I'll be stranded. So what it was is that I realized, wow, I have some roots. Let me explore how I can connect that roots with what's happening here. So, to learn jazz in Berkeley, I had to de-learn Carnatic music and learn it as if I am only going to play jazz. It's very hard to do. I had to take Carnatic music off off, I had to forget that I had recorded 6 professional albums of Carnatic music, played hundreds of concerts, got lots of awards, take it off and look like a beginner in jazz. Even though I played jazz in Chennai is not jazz in Berkeley. Okay, I could have convinced my friends that I play jazz very well. So, I went there, I decided I will have to compartmentalize my learning. It was hard to do. So, to play jazz in the way that I'm expected to play jazz, I have to work on trying to play like Joe Pass, George Benson, Pat Martino, and so on. That is the way I could gain legitimacy. Before the other people started looking at my Carnatic music as a positive thing, I had to hide the Carnatic music far away from them and do all the things that they do as well as they do. And then I bring the Carnatic stuff. They're like, wow, what's this stuff, man? This is cool. Ah, yes. So this stuff goes in. So let me... Let's say I play something like this, okay? So it's also a little bit of, it's also a game, okay? The whole thing is a game. So let's say I'm playing jazz like this. If I play something like this, there you go. Where is that coming from? You don't hear that in jazz guitar players. But if I played what I played before that, authentically, yes, then it's now connecting, right? So I had to learn the language. Oh, this is how jazz guitar players play chords. It's not like that. That's not jazz, right? Jazz guitar players play like this. So I had to do that. Blues guitar players play. So that's Stevie Ray Vaughan's standard chord thing, right? So then I have to play blues like a blues player, jazz like a jazz player. I have to compose classical music like a classical music composer. I have to play reggae like a reggae player. I can't play and call this reggae. I had to play. So you're now getting into the specifics because it's important for me to carry people with me, bringing Carnatic music from nowhere into jazz and reggae and rock. I have to gain legitimacy in jazz, reggae and rock first, right? So when that happens, then this huge resource called Carnatic music comes in. And then it goes through a lot of trial and error. You mentioned Be the Change. What's your favorite song in Be the Change?
Takita Blues.
Takita Blues, okay?
Blues, yeah.
So it starts how? Like this. Takatimi, takajuna, takatimi, takajuna, takatimi, takajuna, takatimi, takatakita, takatimi, takajuna. And then it goes to... Oops, sorry. Listen to something like this. All this stuff, this has nothing to do with Carnatic music on the surface. But if you look at it deeply, it's the same Carnatic rhythm that comes in the vocal in Konnakol before, that's now translated into a rock guitar riff. Right? And I would never explain this to people, because by talking about these things, the whole thing goes down. Oh, I did a fusion of this and this and this and this. The value is gone. See what I mean? So you kind of do it intuitively and then shut up. Don't explain what you do. Don't go around saying, I am doing fusion of reggae, Carnatic, and this and this. That's all respect you would have. Instead, leave it to the intelligence of the listeners to figure out what you're doing. They will go research it, find out more about, and they will fill in the blanks and paraphrase it on your behalf. You see what I mean? So that's what I started doing. So the musicians, when they start hearing this, they're like, wait a minute, where is that stuff coming from? At that time, I don't go and give a gyan saying it is coming from a 2,000-year-old tradition where you have to learn this and this and this and this and this from this rishi, from this thing, and man, they've lost interest in you. Don't tell them anything. A lot of people come and tell me, wow, you sound just like a sitar. I say, thank you. I don't say I don't sound like a sitar, I sound like a veena. A veena is different from a sitar. You should know the difference between veena and sitar. You're a disgrace to Carnatic listening. No. The poor dude wanted to express what he felt or she felt. Right? You got to endear that person to you, not give a gyan to that person. So these are very difficult things. I had to do this. When people were like comfortable with what I do, I leave it as it is. But there were also times where people say, oh, this is jazz. Why are you mixing all this like Indian stuff and all? It doesn't work. I'll say, oh, really? It doesn't work? I'll practice and come back later. In my mind, it works. Right? So it's through a trial and error process, not so much in the music, but in the mindset. So when Be the Change happened, it was like, okay, I'm now playing with people who are my idols. I'm playing with the bass player of Weather Report. I'm like, have Victor Wooten playing with me on my album. I better be good enough to make sure that I can get a good contribution from them. Then the Carnatic music becomes an added resource that changes the whole thing, right? So that's the key. It's not to impose Carnatic music on others, but to bring it in as the subtle layer that was completely unexpected in a language that is otherwise jazz rock. Make sense? Yeah.
Is everything sound, wavelength, amplitude, physics?
Yes.
Science important for a creative thinking person?
Yes. Yes. Is the science important for creative thinking? Well, creative thinking itself is a science, right? So if you go to a psychologist or if you go to somebody else who's dealing with that as a science, they may have a certain way of talking about it that I can't, right? But if you're talking about in terms of, let's say, your analogy for music, yes, I would start like that. I think that's what I talked about earlier. Music is not about ragas, it's not about this, it's nada, it's sound, right? So if you want to start bottom up, right, you can look at it top down or bottom up. Let's say you want to start it ground up. Your fundamental, your foundation for music is sound, not raga, not chords, not notes, sound. That liberates you. For example, if you ask me to play if you ask me to make music with just sound, yeah. What raga is this? That's my favorite question for today. So I'm doing something here which is giving that wham effect, right? If I play like this, it's just this. But if I do this, it's doing something. It's creating an atmosphere. So is the chord important or the sound important? Do you guys know what chord I'm playing? No. B flat major 7, yes, some of you may know. Okay, E flat major 9, but no, that's not important. It's the sound. So then you can say, well, it's amplitude. But for example, what you said is important. I talk a lot about the harmonic series and the fundamentals, right? A lot of musicians don't know that. A lot of musicians don't know that in this note is built this note, this note, this note, and this one. So that's principles of acoustics. It's like you have the fundamental, and then you have the first partial, second partial, overtones, harmonic series. Yes. So that science of it can help in creativity. Knowing the science of music, that's not the science of Carnatic music or jazz or anything, but the science of music itself, right? Tuning systems, temperament. Before the 17th century, like this F and E sharp or whatever it is were not the same, and then they were made to the same. Instruments like guitar evolved out of that. Instruments like piano came out of that. So knowing the science of sound and knowing the science of how things work can play a big role in your creativity. In fact, I would quote this statement that Ilayaraja told me once, which was like a telling statement. He said, Prasanna, synthesizer, when you play synthesizers, you have to be careful about what sounds you use, because some sounds are not good for your brain. Very telling statement. Because with synthesizers, you can mix any sound with any sound, this, that sound, put this, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, that's what he was talking about, two different ragas. So one is sad and one is... can you combine and bring creativity?
Yes. But this one, what Ilayaraja was talking about, was something to do with synthesizing sounds. It was slightly different context. But I said that in the context of you need to know what the sound should be for it to communicate your musical ideas.
Means and end.
Sorry?
Means and end. You should be clear about it.
Yeah. Anything else? Yes? That's amazing. When the question answer session is longer than the actual talk, that's how it should be. So this is great.
So you had mentioned about a hypothetical Raj asking what raga should I play today, and that's where he loses his creativity.
I already like your question. Yes, let's go for it. Yeah.
But from a musician point of view, isn't some kind of a structure actually necessary to even go about it and explore it? Like if I sit for a practice session, say I have like 2 favorite ragas that I would always want to sing, then that restricts my honing my ability in other ragas and like exploring other moods and stuff like that. So as a Carnatic musician, how do I balance both of it, like maintaining the structure and also like exploring?
Okay. So far I talked a lot about dispensing with the idea of ragas and all that stuff, and now I'll become the Carnatic friend, okay, for you. So, see, tell yourself, since this is about creativity, tell yourself, can I do something that surprises me? Ask yourself that question. Can I do something that surprises me? There are so many songs in this raga Riti Gaule. Okay, I'll give you an example. The Riti Gaule raga goes like this. Okay, but nobody thought of using the most simplest phrase in it and make a song out of it until Ilayaraja did Chinna Kannana Kira. So what did he do? He just played the arohana of this. That's all. That's the arohana. Everybody knows that phrase, and nobody thought that you can make a song out of that phrase. There are phrases that he does which you will never hear in Riti Gaule, like this. That first phrase, that is questionable. One character will come and say, Janaki Raman character. But who is singing it? Balamurali Krishna. Who's singing it? One of the greatest ever Carnatic singers. Legitimacy is there. Ilayaraja doing a song, Balamurali Krishna singing it. So that's what you're talking about. You're talking about pushing some phrases, and Ilayaraja does it in every Carnatic-based song. There is one phrase that you will go, oops, is it there even in the raga or not? And then forget about it. Right? So how about this? For example, tell me what one of your favorite ragas that you sing well. Do you sing or you play something?
Yeah, I sing.
Okay, tell me one raga that you sing well.
Kalyani.
Kalyani, okay. Okay, so let's say Kalyani. How about this? I added one knee there, right? Which is not in Kalyani, but it did not harm anybody's listening experience. Nobody got a knee fracture out of that knee. Correct? Nobody's knee got hurt because I changed the knee. So change something like that. Right? Take the same raga, add one note that's not there for your own pleasure and enjoyment, and you don't have to defend it to the Carnatic police or the Carnatic lawyers, whichever it is. You don't have to defend at all. So start from simple things like that. Take something that you already know, put one tiny element that you don't know. It's like putting basil in rasam. It will not harm the rasam. See what I mean? So that's a good start. And then slowly build it up to a stage where you don't even have to define it as a raga. I mean, I am biased towards that state because I think a raga is only a template. It should not limit your restricted this Kalyani, okay? So in my song Kalyani Connection, throughout the melody is in Kalyani, but when it goes, and then it comes back perfectly in Kalyani as if a very, very good boy did not do anything wrong, he came back correctly. Right? But it's the yin and yang. You know what yin and yang is? It's the polar opposites. One being traditional Kalyani and one being deliberately out of Kalyani, but nicely prepared so that it is not coming like at you and shocking you, and then coming back. So it's start thinking of music from other angles, tension resolution, or dark and bright. Outside of just thinking ragas. Start thinking of imagery, start thinking of, the effect. Then that you will be able to do that. Much easier than what you think. Make sense? By the way, if anybody is interested in any of this stuff, you can talk to Saryu. She has some of my music. Yes.
So I have two questions after. One that what is the appropriate amount of time you should spend? Like you played genres as well. That this is jazz, this is reggae. So there is certain amount of time that you need to spend with a certain genre or raga to be able to really incorporate it and then experiment. So is there some amount of time that you should really spend to ingrain in the practice and then experiment, or you should start practicing it right away? And my second question is your thoughts on the metronome.
Okay, for your first question, luckily, technologically, the world is far more advanced now than when I was learning to play jazz or reggae or any of those things, because there was no YouTube tutorials, there were no all that stuff. So you can learn much faster. So that's the good thing. You can learn much faster now, and I use this term micro-learning. You guys are familiar with micro-learning? Yes? For 2 months, just be completely obsessed with reggae. I did that. There was a time where all I would listen to was Peter Tosh, Bob Marley, and that's it. Right? There were 2 months. And then there'll be 2 months where I listen to only D.K. Jayaraman. Right? And then there'll be like 1 month where I'm only listening to Miles Davis's trumpet solos. So I have done that before the word micro learning became a fancy word. So you can do that. Say like for the next 1 month, all I am going to do is blues guitar, apart from other things, right? I'm just going to focus in it. Day in, day out, I'm going to come into it and do this. So try something like that. And use all resources available to you. From YouTube, from this thing, from that thing, like, there's a ton of information out there. But focus the information. Listen, say like, oh, no, this person is not going in the direction I want. Okay, I want this. I want only this. I want somebody to explain to me how Stevie Ray wants to play. Like that. So try that. Try for just a month and then forget about it. And then 2 months later, do the same thing with Carnatic music. Believe me, in 1 month of micro-learning Carnatic music, you can learn a lot of stuff. You don't have to prove it to the Carnatic police or the, all of that stuff, how much you know. So try that.
Metronome, I
Oh
asked,
yeah,
like
metronome. Practicing with a metronome is a necessity. But you should consider that the metronome is your drummer. I'll give you an example. So the problem, I think the reason why you asked me this question is a lot of people have a problem when they have a metronome. It looks like one tick, tick, tick going as if it's like, like a school headmaster trying to tell you when you're going to make a mistake, right? This is different from a drummer who can play with you. So now if I play it literally, as if it's a timekeeper, then I'm not going to get any real. Oops. That's boring music. Okay? There's no vibe in it. There's nothing in it. It's correct, but there's nothing in it. But if I play like this, now the metronome sounds like a drummer playing with me. So to relax yourself and treat that metronome as your friend and not a school headmaster. And feel the vibe with the metronome. Make the metronome feel like it's a drummer playing with you. Then you'll have fun practicing with the metronome.
Thank you so much, Prasanna, for that fantastic session. I think there is no words to express our gratitude, and I will invite our Dean, Professor Mahesh. I think just a second. I will invite our Dean, Professor Mahesh, to give the closing remarks and vote of thanks.
Well,
thank you all for listening to me. Thank you so much.
I think you don't know what you can say when you have a guy like Prasanna coming talk to an audience like this about creativity. We are absolutely delighted. Thank you so much, Prasanna, for doing this. It's one thing to have one genre of music under your belt, but as you heard from himself, to have learned one genre of music, then unlearn it for the sake of learning other new genres of music, and then to bring them all together in a way that is pleasing to a person's ear. I don't know how many people in the world can claim to have achieved what he has done in his own career. And then to call him our alumnus, and then to call him my classmate is an absolute honor and privilege. Creativity is something that we often talk about. It's important in every aspect of what we do, in our life, in engineering. All of the hundreds of startups that are succeeding today in the world are based on an element of creativity, are based on an element of perseverance, are based on an element of something that, in his words, surprises you. He said this to me in the past as well. So we have to do something that surprises us. I think we are our ultimate benchmark. And when we do something that surprises us, we should know for ourselves that we are on the right track. And I want to, in particular, thank Prasanna for taking this kind of time out to do this workout, to have this workshop for us. The YouTube, the video will be out, and we would like to circulate it to a much broader audience, even though we felt that a workshop like this requires an intimacy, so we had a smaller audience, but we would like a larger audience to benefit from this workshop. So we will make sure this reaches a larger group of people that are interested in this. I thank you all for coming. Thank you all, and look forward to the evening's concert at 7:30. The student band of IIT Madras will be opening the act, and followed by Prasanna's live concert. Okay. Welcome to everybody.
Thank you, Mahesh, and I really want to thank Mahesh not just for inviting me, but for being there as a friend. We've had so many conversations, so many chats. And I think he has changed the whole fabric of alumni relations. And so many of us are really happy that we are now connected back with IIT. And Mahesh has a lot to do with making that possible for us. Thank you. And I'm here yesterday, Mr. Venkat Rangan, and we were all having this chat. And by the way, he is a great entrepreneur, and he's receiving the Distinguished Alumnus Award too. And everything that I talked about, some of the stuff we were talking about yesterday with him and Kannan Iyer, the filmmaker. I'm so happy that I am now being reconnected to IIT, and Mahesh has been a great force in that. Not just for me, but I think for all alumni. Thank you. Thank you, Mahesh.